You've heard it. I've heard it. Every guy who's ever paid for dinner, held the door, and didn't say anything weird about his ex has said it. Nice guys finish last. And on the surface, I get it. You're doing all the things you were told to do. You're polite, you're respectful, you didn't send a single unsolicited photo of anything, and somehow still no spark. Still no second date. Just vibes and silence. So what gives? Here's what I think. It's not that women don't want good guys. It's that a lot of men have been sold this idea that being nice should be enough, that doing the minimum without being terrible should automatically make you somebody's dream partner. But being nice, yeah, it's not the flex you think it is. It's not the whole job, that's for sure. And most of the time it's being used as a placeholder for something else entirely. So today, we're walking through what being a genuinely good guy looks like in 2025. On the apps, in the relationships, and yeah, even when things don't go your way. Because the men who are actually getting chosen, they're not just nice. They're intentional, they're emotionally present, and they know how to connect without putting on a show. Let's break it down. If that sounds like something you might need to hear, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. If your whole dating strategy is just be polite and don't say anything dumb, congrats, you've met the basic threshold for not being escorted out of the restaurant. But a good guy in 2025 brings more than just manners. He brings a point of view. He brings a sense of humor, a little spark. He shows up with his actual personality, not a polite placeholder version that he thinks will be more dateable. Because here's the thing, most women aren't looking for the safest option in the room. They're looking for somebody who's present, who's real, who can handle a little mess, a little awkwardness, a little fun. You don't have to perform. You just have to show up as somebody that she can connect with. And that doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being yourself. Even the slightly weird parts. Not really weird parts, just slightly weird. That'll work. Especially those. There's a difference between being a good listener and just being quiet until it's your turn to talk. A lot of guys confuse politeness with connection. They nod, they say, oh, that's cool. They let her talk, and then they wonder why the vibe felt so flat. Being a good guy means you're engaged in the back and forth, in the conversation. You're not just listening, you're actually interested and invested. You're asking great follow-up questions, and you're tracking what lights her up because you're in the moment with her. If she says she loves documentaries, you don't say nice. You ask which one made her spiral for days. If she says she used to do stand-up, ask her what her go-to opener was. Here's what I tell every couple I've ever matched or coached. Follow-up questions are not optional. They are required. You can rattle off 20 first date questions and still walk away knowing nothing important. But if you dig a little deeper, those follow-up questions get you to the good stuff. It's how you go from, yeah, we chatted, we talked, to we connected. And that curiosity, that presence, that's what makes her want to keep talking. That's what makes her want to talk to you. I don't drink alcohol. You might have caught wind of that in my episode about how to date if you don't drink. But I still stock my house with the basics for when people come over. And my liquor store, they have a loyalty program. I even have the card tucked in the back of my wallet. It's right next to a Band-Aid with half a wrapper and a library card from 1972. Yeah, I know. The Band-Aid is probably dirtier than any paper cut I could imagine, but I digress. I was going to say that I have a loyalty program here, too. If you become a channel member, depending on the level, you might get a pretend cup of coffee and my undying gratitude. I'm serious. That's actually a real tier called Cup of Joe. But there are others too. It's just a way to be a little more connected around here. The join button's right there if you want in. No, right down here to the left. Now you're in the know, so we can get back to the episode. A good guy in 2025 isn't kind because he's trying to be impressive. He's kind because that's just how he operates. He doesn't flip a switch when there's a date in front of him and go into gentleman mode. He holds the door for whoever's behind him. He's thoughtful with the bartender, with the Uber driver, with the guy at the grocery store who's struggling with the self checkout, everyone. I remember watching my dad, who used a walker, make his way into a restaurant. Two teenage boys were holding the door wide open for him. They weren't in a rush. I watched them communicate with each other while Dad walked through slowly. They didn't act like it was a big deal. And when my dad apologized for how long it was taking, I was there by that time. I'd already parked. They just said, "Oh, it's no bother, sir." Just calm, instinctual respect. And I remember thinking, if those two carry that energy into dating, they're going to be just fine. Because the truth is, people can feel the difference. Kindness that's real, not strategic, not turned on for the right audience, lands. And yeah, sometimes someone's watching, but even if they're not, that's still who you are. And that still counts. Dating isn't an audition. You're not trying to book the role of boyfriend number one with a strong resume and 3 references. A good guy isn't walking into a date trying to wow her like he's got a PowerPoint and closing arguments. He's not selling at all. He's showing up. Because here's the thing. No one is falling in love with your credentials. They're falling for how they feel when they're around you and how you make them feel. And if you're too busy managing your image to actually be present and in the moment, that's what they'll remember. You don't need to be smooth. You just need to be real. You need to talk, listen, ask great questions, mess up a little bit and laugh about it. That's what connection sounds like, looks like. You don't have to nail the performance. You just have to show up and mean it. Being a good guy in 2025 doesn't mean taking control of every situation like you've escaped the set of a 1950s sitcom. You don't need to plan the entire date and order for her, insist on paying like you're auditioning to be a cruise director. It's not about gallant, because that's a little outdated. It's a good modern guy. A modern guy's going to ask more questions and be collaborative. He checks in. Hey, do you want to pick the spot or do you want me to? Or there's ways of doing this where you can be confident and respectful and communicative all at the same time, as opposed to like you're swooping in to save the day, which, women like that, but that's not authentic if it's not really you, right? There's some guys who that is them and they will be like that. But if that's not you, don't put that on because it can be seen through and you can't be who you're not for the next 10 years. If your dating profile looks like you built it while standing in line at CVS, that's the energy you're giving off. Don't act surprised when no one's lining up to swipe. A good guy doesn't treat his dating profile like a form he's obligated to fill out. He treats it like the start of a conversation because that's exactly what it is. We don't need to hear that, you love dogs and travel and tacos and hiking. Congratulations, you and the rest of the internet. Say something specific, something human, something that makes somebody take a little pause and think, oh, okay, tell me more. Like I once competed in a chili cook-off I had no business entering. Or I named my houseplants after retired newscasters. And when you message somebody, say more than hey, because even in a digital space, a good guy knows how to connect. You know what you can count on? Something will always go sideways. The reservation will be wrong. Your shirt will be damp maybe for no reason at all. You'll accidentally call her by your dog's name. It happens. But a good guy doesn't spiral when the script falls apart. He rolls with it. He laughs. He goes with the flow. He says, want to grab ice cream instead? Instead of panicking over the backup plan, not having a backup plan. Because freaking out helps nobody, and lashing out, being rude to the driver or being a couple minutes late or suddenly getting snippy because you feel self-conscious is very uncool. Dating isn't about a perfect evening. It's about showing how you handle real life. And a guy who can stay cool when things get weird, that's someone that she can actually imagine sharing a life with, not just one night. A good guy doesn't just show up when things are going his way. He shows up when they're not. And if you still choose kindness anyway, no matter what's going on, yeah, that'll do it. Look, anyone can seem amazing on a first date. You're on your best behavior. Your shirt is wrinkle free if it's not damp, and your brain is firing on all cylinders. Pow pow. But what happens after that? 3 days later, will she hear crickets, or will you follow through like any good guy would? Because the truth is, reliability isn't flashy. It's not the stuff you brag about, but it is the thing that makes people relax around you. It's what makes somebody think, oh, yeah, I could actually count on this. And if you're worried that consistency sounds boring, let me tell you, it absolutely doesn't. In a world full of men who go silent the second they're busy, showing up like you mean it is basically a superpower. No grand gestures required, just follow through on a random Tuesday because you're not putting on a show, you're showing who you are. Yeah, I know, dating can be a minefield, especially if it feels like you've been doing everything right and still not getting the results that you want. And yeah, I know, that's really frustrating. But a good guy doesn't let the frustration fester. He uses it. He gets curious. He steps back and thinks, okay, is there anything else that I could be doing differently here? He doesn't spiral, and he definitely doesn't head to the group chat to declare that dating is broken and everyone is the worst. He just reflects and adjusts and tries again because, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be learning, getting better, being open and being accountable for yourself. That's what actually sets you apart to be a good guy. Anyone could blame the system, but the second you start growing, that's when things really shift. So yeah, turns out nice guys aren't finishing last after all. I think we knew that. I definitely did. But guys who are confusing politeness for presence or charm for consistency, a polite nod for actual curiosity, those guys, they're still out there wondering why nothing's landing. Being a good guy in 2025 means more than just not being awful. It means showing up with follow through, with empathy, with questions that go somewhere. It means you're not performing, you're participating. You're not just polite when it's easy, you're kind when it's inconvenient. And that kind of man, that guy, he absolutely gets chosen. So I hope you found that interesting and helpful. And if you did, you might want to check out this episode here. Also, please don't forget to give my mom the thumbs up. She says it will count as your cardio for the day. And don't forget to subscribe, unless you want to keep confusing nice with dateable. And I think we've covered how that's going. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And until next time, have a good one.